Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and welcome to Learn with Gross. Right, this episode I'm going to be making some fake tarpaulin. I need to figure out how to do it, so as ever, hopefully you'll learn with me. Now, I've been told the best way to do it is with a dried baby wipe. So we've got a wipe that's been left out all day and it's now not wet, it's just dry. So we need that, and we need some PVA glue. Now apparently what we do is basically soak this in PVA and then put it where it needs to be and then let it dry. Now if you need to colour it, obviously you can paint it afterwards, or if you paint the PVA that you're soaking it in, then the PVA colours it automatically. Now because I want to do this for the 144 scale falcon that I'm doing, I think that this might be too coarse. So I think if you scale that down or up to real size, it's going to be sort of not as much a tarpaulin but more like a blanket. So I've also got some thin tissue paper, which I'm hoping is going to work in much the same way. So we'll see. First of all, I'm going to cut them because I don't need massive bits, so this is just a test. Now what I'm actually going to test on is an old knackered car. So what I'm going to do is basically, the intention is to have sort of half covering, perhaps over the back, that sort of finish. So this obviously isn't 144 scale, so it might look okay with the big bit. So what I'm going to do is try both and see. I'm just going to cut on camera, hopefully, just a slice off of that, so we've got a square that's, I don't know how big it would be in normal scale, but that's a decent size. And I'm going to cut another one much the same size, but it's not exactly an accurate measurement, this. Just going to get an idea and see, that sort of thing. Looks like somebody might have covered over some of it with a tarpaulin, and there we go. So I've got two squares that I need to soak in PVA. Now doing it as a tarpaulin, obviously I want a colour. If I'm putting it over a blue car, I don't really want blue, so I'm going to go with like a green, because you get some tarpaulins in green. So I'm going to mix up some of this PVA in with a bit of green paint and soak it in. We'll see what happens after that, so I'll see you in a moment. Okay, I have my supplies ready. One other thing, because the kit has already been painted, apparently we need some cling film, which will obviously stick to the kit, but we can peel that off, and then when the PVA is dry on the bit we're after, we'll be able to take this out and just put it directly over. So I'm just going to tear off a smaller bit of cling film. So as I'm going to be doing two bits of this, I'm going to probably only end up using one on the actual kit itself. So what I'm going to do is pretty much cover the back of the car in the cling film. And then when I put that over the top, it'll obviously bed down and I can shape that to where I want it to be. So I've got a bowl, my PVA, which I'm going to put in. Obviously don't need lots and lots of it. I don't think I need to water it down, but I'll probably find out after I've started that I do. But this is what we're learning. I'm going to put on a rubber glove because I don't really want to get PVA and ink paint all over myself. I'm just going to put in a little bit of green, which I'm going to mix up first, of course. I've used this green for a long time and the pigment's all sort of settled down the bottom. There we go. Right, I'm just going to drop in a bit, nice and scientific, of course, technical amount of some, which I'm going to put in there. I'm going to use an old paintbrush because it's going to get covered in PVA, and I'm just going to mix that in. Doesn't matter if it's not an even spread of colour, because it's not going to be an even anything, so I'm not exactly worried about the look of this. This is an experimentation rather than actual fact. So I'm going to put this in there pretty much. Yeah, that's going to need to be watered down, so I'm going to get some water and we'll come back in a moment. Right, I've put in a load of water, far too much no doubt, but we'll see. And that I'm just mixing up. I'm going to put the tissue paper in as well. Now the tissue paper is obviously going to behave very differently to the wipe. I don't think it's going to take the colour nearly as well, so I'll probably have to end up, yeah, that's not taking the colour at all, but hopefully that's still going to be workable. It's tearing, but that all adds to the character. So I'm just going to drape that across half of this, like someone's just thrown a tarpaulin over the back of their car. Put that in. I'm going to do exactly the same with the big one. You should put 2 gloves on. The colour works better on that. Just get most of the dribbly bits off. Actually, I'm going to bring it out a little bit. See if that works. Yeah, 2 gloves are the way to go. If you're watching this, use 2 gloves, or don't touch anything afterwards. So there we go. That's again the second one, which I'm just going to check over again in no particular order or way, but trying to make sure it looks about natural. Obviously it's going to be touching the floor as well, so that's okay. Just trying to make sure it digs in to recesses and things. Let gravity take its weight, but obviously bear in mind that it's acting like something much bigger than it really is. So we're trying to get that settling in where it needs to be. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry for however long, a day or so possibly. I'll touch it every so often and see if it's dry or not. I'm going to go and get cleaned up, and then you'll be able to see what it looks like when it's dry. Right, that's been 24 hours, one day, and it feels dry, hopefully. Obviously, because of how I've got most of it down here, it's stuck to the board, so I'm going to carefully try and lift it off. It's obviously not completely dry because it's still bending a little bit, but that's okay, I think. I'll leave that back there. Yeah, it's not fully dry, so I am going to leave it again for another day. I'd rather that be as solid as the bits at the top. Some of the bit at the bottom are still flexible. So I'm going to put that back down after I've cleaned off the muck, and I'll put that back how I want it to be. Make sure that gets into the shape quite nicely again, and leave that until tomorrow, when hopefully I'll just be able to peel it off. So see you tomorrow. Okay, another 24 hours down, so it's had 48 hours to dry, and it's not moving, which is a good thing. That's exactly what I wanted. So now we'll try taking it off of the model and then getting rid of the cling film, and we'll see how it works. Let's unpeel it, hopefully without disturbing the shape of it too much. Oh, looks like I did miss some of the cling film a little bit, so yeah, that's peeling off quite well. I'm just going for the big green bit at the moment. The paper one I'll worry about next. Hopefully that will come off separately, although they overlapped, so might not work quite as intended. No, I'm going to tear the tissue paper. So if you want to take them apart, make sure they don't touch. So that's what we have with a wipe. So there's a couple of bits there that are from the tissue paper, but not a problem. So that in itself is pretty substantial, pretty solid, and should basically, there we go, if I get it the right way around, lay over the kit. And yeah, I think that's pretty convincing as a tarpaulin or a dust sheet or something like that. That's worked quite well, but it worked well for this scale. It won't work for 144. That is a bit too coarse. So let's see how this has worked out. It's also quite solid, so it definitely didn't take the paint the same way, so it hasn't taken the glue in the same way either, so it's not quite as substantial, not shaped as well as the other piece. So let's see, I completely forgot which way round it was. It was about there, wasn't it? It was on there pretty much like that. So yeah, that does the job. Doesn't look as convincing as this, but that might be down to, say, shaping and size and scale. So I think on a larger scale kit, like for instance the falcon that I'm doing at the moment, it looks better as a large sheet in comparison to that, although that's not bad. I think I can get away with either of them. I'll try both again on a different kit to see if the scale works, but for, as I say, that what scale is this? 148? 132nd. 132nd scale. I think that does the job. But so remember to put it on. If you're not going to be ever doing anything else with it, then obviously it could just go over the top as is. But using the cling film does give you that barrier to protect the paintwork underneath. And obviously if it's going to be touching the floor, make sure the diorama base has already been done, or if you've had a stone under there, you'd be, you know, in trouble trying to get that up. But it could be pushed into the grooves a little bit further, a little bit more, but I'm happy with that. That's come out quite well, so I hope you've picked something up from this. I know I have. So thanks for watching, and go try it yourself. See you soon.